All right, good evening. It is Thursday, November the 4th. It's 5:33 p.m. This is the Town of Spencer Board of Aldermen pre-agenda meeting for the month of November. With that, I call the meeting to order. We have 5 of our board members present. Ms. Segrist cannot be with us this evening. She may be joining by Zoom here later. So with that, if you will bow your heads, we'll have an invocation. Father, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for this fall season. We thank you for what you have given us in this town, blessings you bestowed on us. We ask that you be with us. Help us that we may bestow those blessings back upon our citizens. Give us guidance, give us wisdom and discernment as we make decisions for this town. Help us in all that we do what is best for the town, our businesses, and our residents. Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The first item, prior to review of our November 9th agenda, is a public hearing. This public hearing is for General Statute 160A-340.3 and 143-318.10, amended Ordinance 21-027, Chapter 70 and 71, to provide for regulation of utility vehicles on streets within town limits. Those who wish to address the Board of Aldermen are required to provide their name, address, and topic to be addressed. The board will listen only and not respond, and a speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. And so with that, we will officially open the public hearing. And I will first ask the clerk, have we received any written or phone conversation relative to this matter?
No.
Okay, very good. We will now open it up if there's anyone in the public that is here present tonight that would like to speak. Give a moment for that. Do we have anybody that we know of? Okay. Seeing none. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
There's a motion by Ms. Hovis. There's a second by Ms. Sledge. All in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, public hearing is closed. We'll now move to review of the November 9th, 2021 agenda. Okay. With that, I would ask, do we have a volunteer to give the invocation next Tuesday? All right, Ms. Sledge, thank you. And then, are there recognitions from board members that we need to be aware of and make on Tuesday?
I'd like to do one for the fire department, what they did at Halloween.
Okay. Are there others? All right, Peter or Stacy, from a staff perspective, are there any recognitions we need to make? Okay.
I want to recognize the group that's been working on Winterfest, and I want to add something to Sharon's recognition of the fire department, and specifically Chief Lanning.
Okay. All right, got you on for that. Any others?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think I'd like to make a recommendation on the community card.
Okay.
Community appearance.
All right, any others? All right, very good. Thank you all. And so with that, before we get into the agenda as presented, are there any other items that we know we need to add to the agenda for next week? Yes.
I have one thing, and I did not see it listed. Maybe I overlooked it, but one of the double-edged swords with having my street paved last summer, or the summer before last, is the plus side is that It's one of the smoothest surfaces in the county. The downside to that is it's become the backstretch of Talladega Speedway.
Right.
And I've discussed this with Joel Taylor, and I have talked with all the neighbors in my immediate area, and we would like to have a speed bump installed. And the location can be right in front of my house if necessary. I'm serious.
Is that something that we want to talk about during Mr. Taylor's update? Or do wanna
We
keep it
can
as a
if you
separate
want
item?
to, if you want to do
Peter,
that.
is there a preference from the administrative perspective?
No, sir. Pleasure of the board.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
We can do it during Joel's
Is that
segment.
okay?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, let me make a note of that, Sam.
We've had a couple close calls with children, and I'm a little bit weary of people doing 50+ miles per hour in front of my house when it's marked 35.
Okay.
And I think a speed bump about 4 feet tall will slow them down a little bit.
It might.
But then the guy that lives right next to it's gonna call and complain because it's making noises.
Make it noises. That's why we're gonna put it in front of your house. How about that?
That's right. That's fine with me.
All right. Anything else from the board? Peter, I know you have a few items that we need to discuss adding as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anything else from the board? All right, hearing none. Peter?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and members of the board, there were a few items that came up this week after we got your packet put together. And this is really in no particular order other than just what's jotted on my notes here. But first, we have a group that is interested in talking with you about potentially using our current building after we leave. That is the group from FT Academy, which is they were the group that formerly had a charter school. I believe it's now considered a private school. And they reached out earlier this week. I informed them that we don't have a determination for what's going to happen to this building yet, and that our move is currently looking to take place in the later end of December. But if they wanted to come take a look at the building, they would be welcome to it. So they did yesterday, and they determined they do think this is a space that they could see being useful to them, and they want to make a request to the board about that. I believe there's a lot of questions that would have to be answered procedurally about how we would, if indeed that's our direction the board would want to go, we would have to make sure we follow the correct procedures with leasing property and some notice requirements that we would have to meet. But also maybe a larger question of whether we want to be in the business of leasing property for the purpose of a school. There could be some considerations there about being responsible for owning a property used for that sort of thing. So just wanted to mention that one, that they would like to be on the agenda Tuesday if you would allow it.
Okay. Is that an item that the board wishes to entertain to allow them to present on Tuesday?
Sure.
Okay. We'll review here in a moment where we want to put that. All right, what other items?
You have before you a proposed contract completion addendum. This is something our town attorney drew up in response to the fact, and I think we talked about this a few times, the natural gas generator that is planned for our new town hall police department is on back order to the point that the production line that's going to make it is not going to even start running until April. That's now the time frame they're showing us. So this could be very extended. It could last. It could take up to a year maybe. We don't really know what their turnaround time is, but for that reason, this is suggested to allow us to close out the project with this exception in place and be able to proceed. There would be a temporary certificate of occupancy that would be granted from the county until that part is finalized, and that's when the final CO would come.
Okay. Is that an item that the board would prefer to put on consent agenda? Solely a time extension?
We can.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot on that day.
Is the real- the price is still gonna be the same, isn't it?
Correct. It's just an extension of
Just
time to allow that to come in.
Yeah,
If it's not anything like that, I don't see no problem with that.
I don't either.
And as far as the financing and all that, we won't have any
Yeah.
problem. We won't have any.
That's the question. What, have you asked that with USDA?
Yes, what they would do is hold these funds in what they call a supervised account. And so it would basically allow the loan closing to happen. This would remain separately. But yes, so that would be accounted for. But what this would allow us to do is to basically close out the project and move ahead.
So we would be able to actually close then on our permanent
Yes,
loan?
yes.
Okay. So
Does that mean dispersing funds at that time?
These funds would not get dispersed.
Right,
I think some portion has already been as part of the order, but the remainder would not happen until it was in
for
place.
installation.
No ticky, no surety.
That's right.
Sam
That's right.
said it on.
And the natural gas generator is for, in the event of backup, for backup.
Yes.
Correct.
I would go with that.
Which we don't have one now. We don't have a generator now.
Right.
But in the event that we were to lose power in the new facility, that would then kick on. Yeah. All right, so consent agenda.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else?
The only other item is that there is an item on the agenda, and it is number 22 about closing US 29 for the Tis of the Season Spectacular Parade. We also want the board to consider a street closure related to Winterfest, and that would be proposal to close Fifth Street between Salisbury Avenue and Yadkin Avenue, 12 noon on Friday. It's 2 weekends, so it'd be 12 noon on Friday until 10 p.m. on Saturday. So that would be on from the 3rd to the 4th, and then again from the 10th to the 11th. And the reason for that is there's going to be amenities set up on Fifth Street, and to include a large tents with tables and chairs, and the desire of the organizers is to leave those tents in place overnight between Friday and Saturday, break that down after Saturday, let it then reopen for the week, and then it'll get set back up next Friday. And so that would cause Fifth Street to remain physically inaccessible to vehicles overnight for both weekends. There would be water barriers in place, the tent, and then barricades, more movable barricades with the fire truck during the event, but without the fire truck after the event. So that is what it would look like. And
Salisbury between what and what? Where and
it's
where?
on, it would be on
Just
Fifth
Fifth
Street between Salisbury Avenue and Yadkin Avenue.
Just that one block?
Yes.
Yeah.
At Park Plaza.
I-29 traffic, what goes around?
No. We're not closing Salisbury Avenue
Oh, I thought you said
For the
Salisbury.
parade.
for the parade. This is for Winterfest. It's just Fifth Street right there
Right,
at
okay.
Park Plaza.
But for the parade, when he closes for the parade?
Salisbury Avenue gets closed for the parade.
From where to where?
Bojangles to right over here.
Right about right.
To the tracks? I mean, to the 17th Street?
Yes.
7th Street, yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
On a more temporary basis.
What is the timing of that closure?
On the parade, 1 o'clock.
Which one?
I believe it somewhere between 12 and 1.
I think it's 1 o'clock. That's what it goes.
Usually-
Parade starts at 2.
Yeah.
We'll confirm that.
We try to allow vehicles to go along with the parade one year, Bob, but it wasn't pretty sight.
Especially when you start throwing that
Parade
candy.
and candy.
Running over the kids, getting it.
Couple kids got run over.
I brought some peppermint. Thank you.
All right,
So those are all the extra items for your, would like
Okay.
to be added to the agenda.
all right, thank you. All right, so with that, we will now go through an overview of our agenda for Tuesday. We have a public hearing on Tuesday, and this is related to an annexation hearing. It's basically, Peter, you want to go over this one quickly for us?
Yes, and so this is a follow-up on the item that we discussed last month where the public hearing was set for an annexation agreement with the city of Lexington. The item on Tuesday, in addition to the public hearing, and these documents, you may have some hard copies in front of you in the electronic packet. It reflects it as well. But there is an updated ordinance for your consideration, an updated annexation agreement, as well as a resolution that's been requested that authorizes the town manager to waive a 60-day notice and some associated letters to go along with that. But what this does is allow the city of Lexington to annex several hundred acres of property in Davidson County that happens to be just as close to the Spencer's corporate limits due to our land near the Yadkin River as it is to Lexington's corporate limits. So we're following general statute procedures that are needed for them to pursue this.
Peter, you said that it's the land that's on the Davidson County side, not the Rowan County side.
That's right. All of this property is in Davidson County, and there is a map.
Happens to be within 3 miles of our city limits, which is solely because of the finishing companies like being within our border.
Why are they asking to waive 60-day notice?
I think it's standard procedure whenever there's an annexation.
It's, yeah, in this particular case, there's some time sensitivity to it. We've moved with pretty good haste to get to this point this quickly for them. And so it's their schedule to try to get this wrapped up. And if they had to give us the 60 days notice, it's only that they're actually going to then annex. So we already know that's going to happen. So we're waiving notice of something we already know is going to happen. But it would just delay that commitment for 60 days, and they're ready, I think, to,
I believe they're wanting to adopt an ordinance on Tuesday.
yes.
Somewhere within short order of the action here rather than wait.
Yeah. And so it's, we're not really waiving any substantive rights. We're only waiving the 60 days that they would have to give us notice of the final annexation, and we already know that's gonna
So
happen, yes.
it doesn't have anything to do with the people over there.
No.
Okay. That's-
So to annex, I thought they would have to have requests from the residents of that area to go through with the annexation, correct?
In North Carolina, it has to be a voluntary annexation, and in this case, the property owners that are aligned within the 750-acre site are gonna voluntarily submit an annexation application.
Okay.
And this is undeveloped property.
Can you tell me, it's one big housing?
I don't know what it's gonna be, but I don't know what it's gonna be, but the assumption is from general conversation that it's some sort of commercial or industrial type development. I don't know who's involved or the specifics of anything, but it's more of a commercial and industrial development, I believe.
Some of the property joins the river.
Right.
So we need a vote on this.
No, this will be public hearing, yeah.
After the
This will
public
be
hearing.
after the public hearing. Yeah, so we'll have the public hearing and then we'll get to the actual ordinance here momentarily.
Do we send out notices of public hearing or do they?
We have for this public hearing.
Okay.
Right, and while I'm here, and the town has done most of the work for us. I've been working with Bitt Holton, who's the town attorney, but they've been drafting the documents. They've tried to minimize your exposure to your costs, and actually, when we get the bill from the newspaper, we need to forward the bill for the publication to them, and they're gonna pay, they're gonna reimburse the town for the cost of our publication, for the public hearing.
Very good.
And that previous question is the technical rule, is when the proposed annexation area is more than 3 miles from the annexing municipality, and it's closer to an adjoining municipality, then we have to do this. It just avoids the old battles of towns just,
If they try to come across the river, can we fight them?
well, if they come across the river, they have to get county board of commission approval if they want to.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just kidding.
yeah.
Well, you get your cabins to that.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jay. All right, we'll have public comment, and then we will have our consent agenda. So again, as we go through this, be thinking of items we want to add to the consent agenda. With that, approval of the minutes from October 7th from our pre-agenda meeting and October 12th from our regular meeting. Is that something we want to add to our consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right, the next is item 9 and 10, and those are two different ordinances. Item 9 is ordinance 21-027, that's for utility vehicles. That's based on the public hearing held tonight. Again, this is something that's been in the works for close to a year now. So my suggestion would be that we hold this for our regular agenda as opposed to consent agenda.
I agree.
Okay, and then the same being for ordinance 21-025 for the annexation agreement with Lexington.
And there's also the resolution as well now that has been added in with that, related to that waiver.
Okay. All right, so we'll hold that one for regular agenda as well. Everybody good with that? Okay. We'll receive our departmental reports. Got a note when we get to Public Works to allow Sam to speak about the speed on Sowers Ferry Road. We'll receive our town manager report. Then we have several budget amendment ordinances to talk through, 21-020, 021, and 022. You want to quickly give us an overview of that, Peter?
Yes, two of those are related to the town park donation that was received of $100,000. One of them receives the donation, and the other one establishes a project fund to manage that project going forward. And then the other one is related to the action that was taken last month, directing us to proceed with purchasing Christmas lights for our new building. So it just appropriates the contingency funding that was necessary for that.
How much did we spend on this Christmas?
It was less than $1,000. It was about
What year?
it was about 900.
Okay.
And half of that amount was actually covered by actually the town's going to wind up paying 45% of that amount, and 55% is being covered by the other property owners.
Great. Okay. So I would suggest the 21-020. That's the that's for the lights. Let's make that consent agenda.
Okay.
But then my recommendation would be 14 and 15, those ordinances, that we actually hold those for regular agenda, just
Okay.
because it's that way we can publicly announce that we have received $100,000 to kickstart the park. I think that's important that we recognize that.
All right, so number 15, the one for the lights, that's going on consent.
Number 13 is the
13
lights,
is the lights.
and then 14 and 15 relate to the $100,000 donation.
Can we consider, having broadband when we have the park, is that something that the town could do to make broadband available in that immediate area?
Perhaps. We're gonna talk a little bit about the plan for kickstarting the park. I think Joe will provide an update on that. That's gonna include, in order to do that, include a lot of community input on what they would like to see. And I think that's a great time to solicit that input if they see that as a important need during that process. Thank you. Okay. Next item is to consider receiving property liens. It's attachment 9. This is something that we've started doing each month related to liens, that we're confirming those liens so they can be appropriately filed with clerk of court.
No consent with this.
Consent agenda?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It's for like 4 of them or something like that.
Correct. All right. Next item is resolution 21-026 for interlocal mutual aid assistance. This is the interlocal aid agreement for us to discuss and consider related to additional support from the Rowan County Sheriff's Department in the short term for a 6-month period as needed because of police staffing levels right now.
Regular agenda.
Item 18, consider setting a public hearing for conditional rezoning. Again, this pertains to the property by the fire station. So that should be a regular agenda item. And then item 19 is consider confirming the sale of 308 Kane Street. And 20 is considered confirming the sale of 608 South Carolina Avenue.
Consent.
Mhm, consent.
And those are based on the offers that we have received, and those were the highest offers during the upset bid process. So that is an item we want to put on the consent agenda?
Mhm.
Okay. Item 21 is consider authorizing the town manager to sign an agreement to execute design and construction for the Yadkin River Trailhead. So we have received a submittals back on an RFQ that was sent out for qualifications for design firms to actually move forward with the design process and construction for the Yadkin River Trailhead. And so I would suggest that we hold this on a regular agenda. That way we can get an update from Mr. Morris on that project. And then we will receive an update for approval to close Salisbury Avenue for the season spectacular parade. And then, of course, we also had the request to close 5th Street for the Winterfest event. My suggestion would be that we actually receive the update during departmental reports and go ahead and approve the closures as part of consent agenda. Board agreeable to that?
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll receive requests and comments by the mayor and board. Anything else? Okay. Very good. So we have reached the end of our agenda there. Is there a need this evening to go into executive session?
There is.
Okay, so is there a motion? All right, there's a motion by Ms. Pledge, second by Mr. Dish. All in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, we stand in closed session.